You know, there was a sense with the Cold War over that foreign policy mattered less as a political issue. And what's interesting is the Democrats saw this as a huge opportunity, all right? I mean, foreign policy and national security more specifically had been an Achilles heel for Democrats really since Vietnam. And you know, how the Democratic presidential candidate in the elections in 76 and 80 and 84 and 88 would approach communism was a very divisive issue within the party and also then troubling politically because there was a sense of weakness and inability on this. So when the Cold War ends, many Democrats were very optimistic, not only that foreign policy would matter less, and there were some who believed that, who thought we could sort of take care of things here at home, but also that foreign policy could be different. Now that the struggle wasn't just about how strong you would be against communism. One of the things that's interesting looking back, particularly given how notorious neoconservatives have become in the last 7 or 8 years, neoconservatives were you know, in the 70s, were Democrats, big D Democrats, who had left the party more or less in the wake of Vietnam, believing that Democrats had become soft on national security issues and on the fight against communism specifically. And you know, so it's interesting. Many of the characters who we now, you know, are, you know, people like Richard Pearl had worked for Democratic politicians, you know, in the 1970s. But they were hawkish on the Soviets and hardline in terms of the Cold War. So there was a hope that some Democrats had in 1992, and some of the influential advisors to then Governor Clinton, candidate Clinton in 1992, was that with the Cold War over, and this kind of this bitter divide over communism gone, that neoconservatives would actually come back into the party. And many prominent neoconservatives in the 1992 campaign endorsed Bill Clinton for president. They were very unhappy with George H.W. Bush. They believed that George H.W. Bush didn't care enough about promoting democracy, that he didn't do enough to stand up to dictators around the world. Remember, in the early 1990s, Bosnia exploded as Yugoslavia fell apart. And Bill Clinton in the campaign in 92 criticized George H.W. Bush for not doing more in Bosnia, for not doing enough to stand up to, as Bill Clinton called them, the butchers of Beijing, and for not doing enough in terms of promoting democracy. And that was a message that many neoconservatives believed was, you know, ideas that they shared. So it was not just about ideas, but it was also about politics in the sense of there was, you know, just as the fact that neoconservatives had left the Democratic Party, many believed was a sign of Democrat weakness. There was a hope that if they could be brought back into the party, they would signal a sign of renewed strength.